Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to be talking about the Jeffrey Epstein case, namely discussing whether or not he was murdered. The information I'll be sharing with you comes from a book called A Convenient Death, The Mysterious Demise of Jeffrey Epstein, written by Alana, Goodman, and Daniel Halper. Why should we listen to them? They are investigative political reporters with wide-ranging experience breaking news on uncomfortable and sensitive political subjects. The facts reported in the book are based exclusively on conversations with direct sources, on primary court and public record documents, and on published media accounts. But before I get into that, I just want to make a disclaimer that if you want to read the book yourself, just know that I will be spoiling some of it here, but it's worth checking out nonetheless, both because it's very well written and because there's a ton of information I will not be able to get through here. Also, just a fair warning that the subject matter is disturbing. Before reading the book, I was leaning towards it being a suicide because it was reported that he attempted suicide a month prior, because he changed his will 2 days before his death, and because it was reported that the camera which recorded the tier where Epstein's cell was located, that it didn't capture anybody entering or leaving that tier. However, after reading this book, my thoughts on the matter changed entirely, and I'm highly leaning towards it being a murder. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing how and why the book has changed my opinion on the matter. But before I get into the video, I just want to say thank you to everyone and all of you who have liked, commented, subscribed, or watched my videos. It really means a lot. Epstein, a self-described money manager from Coney Island who claimed to have worked exclusively for billionaires, was facing up to 45 years in prison on underage sex trafficking charges. According to prosecutors, Epstein had recruited and sexually abused dozens of teenage girls in his homes in Manhattan and Palm Beach between 2002 and 2005. This was his second arrest for sex crimes. He was previously convicted for soliciting and procuring underage prostitutes in 2008. But that previous case involved state charges in Florida, and he was able to cut a deal for a lenient sentence and a work release program. But this time he was facing federal charges in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York. The first reason is that he was not in the state of mind of someone who had lost all hope. Epstein died on August 10th, 2019, and 10 days before his death, the 66-year-old multimillionaire had already been in jail for about a month on charges of sex trafficking underage girls. He spent most of his days in a conference room designated for legal meetings. And on this particular day, August 1st, 2019, it was said that he looked good, healthy, that he was upbeat and focused as he was hoping to take his first steps towards a legal victory and freedom from a place where he was miserable. So the first reason was that he was not in the state of mind just 10 days prior of someone who had lost all hope, but that he was prepared to fight it all the way. The second reason is that his lawyers actually believed he had a pretty good case. They believed he actually may have won the case, and they thought his chances were quite good. They thought the federal case against him was pretty weak, because Epstein had already entered a non-prosecution agreement with the Department of Justice a decade earlier, which allowed him to plead guilty to the state charges and avoid federal prosecution in that district. Because the latest charges involved some of the same victims and incidents, they argued that the federal government would not be able to retry him in another state. Also, Epstein's lawyers felt they could make a case for double jeopardy based on the prior prosecution. Double jeopardy is a defense that prevents the accused from being tried again for the same or similar charges following a valid acquittal or conviction. Also, it doesn't really make sense why he would commit suicide before even having the opportunity to fight the case and even before his bail hearing. It's not like he was already sentenced and knew that he would spend the rest of his life in jail. Also, it is known that Epstein thought he was basically able to buy his way out of anything, so why would he do that before exhausting all of his options? But before I continue, please like the video if you got to at least this point. It lets me know how many people are at least getting to here and what I need to change and alter. The third reason why is that the day before he died, he once again appeared to be in an upbeat mood, and he was looking forward to his bail hearing. On August 9th, Epstein met up with his defense lawyer to talk over trial strategy, and he was said to be in a fighting mood and he was excited about moving forward. This was a Friday, and they were planning on having a motion appealed on Monday to try to get him out on bail. When Epstein was escorted back to his cell at 8 p.m., that would be the last time anybody outside of the prison saw him alive. The fourth reason is that many people close to him basically said this was completely out of his character and they couldn't comprehend him committing suicide. One of his friends said, and I quote, "I can't even imagine the thought of suicide even crossing his mind." Now to the state of his body. Epstein had allegedly hung himself from the frame of the upper bed bunk. There were no drugs found in his system, and the autopsy revealed that he'd already been dead hours before the two guards found him. By the time the investigators arrived, a parade of correctional officers, prison workers, and staff and paramedics have walked through his cell, potentially contaminating the scene. The fifth reason is that the autopsy revealed several inconsistencies with a suicide. One of the main pathologists on the case was Dr. Baden. Dr. Baden is perhaps the most well-known forensic pathologist in the US. He is the host of the HBO docuseries called Autopsy, and he has conducted over 20,000 autopsies over his career. One of the first things Baden noticed was the unusual location of the ligature mark. There was a thin dark red line running across the Adam's apple. The location of the mark was much lower than in the usual suicide. In this case, it was located right in the middle of the neck, which is much more consistent with a homicidal strangulation. Also, there were 3 separate fractures in front of Epstein's neck, to the left and right cartilage and to the horseshoe-shaped bone under the chin called the hyoid. Dr. Baden said that he had never had these 3 fractures occur in a prison suicidal hanging, but that these 3 injuries are much more commonly found in strangulation murders. At the end of the autopsy, the other pathologist said she needed more information to draw a conclusion, and they ruled the autopsy inconclusive. However, suicides are not uncommon in prisons. He did revise his will just a few days before. He was disgusted by the living conditions in prisons, and he apparently attempted suicide just weeks prior. In July, Epstein was found unconscious in his cell with a piece of fabric around his neck. He explained to his lawyers that this was kind of just a prank gone wrong or an aggressive move by his cellmate. That's when he was placed on suicide watch, and he was placed in a cell right next to the guard's desk, and he was prohibited from being in a cell alone. He was transferred a new cellmate in, but that new cellmate was moved out on August 9th, the day before his death. This is where the sixth reason comes in. The earlier suicide claim seems suspicious. He denied the attempt to his lawyers. The cellmate that was transferred out on August 9th was transferred out a day before his death, and a new cellmate was not transferred in, which breached protocol. And he was taken off suicide watch just 6 days prior, which likewise breached protocol. The seventh reason is that there is strangeness surrounding his death. The first odd thing is that the 2 guards on duty that night filed 75 30-minute entries, falsely claiming that they checked on Epstein's cell, but the security footage caught them surfing the web and sleeping and not checking on him from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. The second odd thing is that the surveillance camera monitoring his cell malfunctioned on the night he died, and there was no footage captured. The third odd thing is that in November of 2019, Attorney General William Barr claimed to have personally reviewed the footage that captured no one coming into the tier where Epstein's cell was housed. But after his viewing, that footage mysteriously malfunctioned and it no longer exists. The reason is that there was a similar case at the MCC, the same prison where Epstein was housed, in 2015. May 19th, 2015, a prisoner named Roberto Grant died in custody while awaiting sentencing on robbery charges. Prison officials told his family that he died of an overdose, but he actually showed signs of being choked. The autopsy did not find any drugs in his system, but it did find signs of blunt force trauma, including strangulation and injury to the hyoid bone. His matter of death was likewise ruled inconclusive, and there was no footage available of Grant's cell on the night he died. The ninth reason is that he was a blackmailer. When people visited Epstein on the Upper East Side and walked through the 15-foot oak doors to his house, the first thing they would see when they walked through the doors was a massive painting of Bill Clinton wearing a blue dress and red heels, sitting seductively in his Oval Office. Everyone who saw it laughed and smirked. The painting was meant to be a mockery of his most embarrassing moment throughout his presidency, his Oval Office affair with a then intern who kept the blue-stained semen dress as evidence of their affair. The message of the painting seemed obvious. It was a warning for his rich and powerful friends that he had dirt on them, so they better do as he asked. A journalist who interviewed Epstein said that he claimed that he knew a whole lot about the high elites. Details that could be potentially damaging and embarrassing, including details about their sexual proclivities and drug use. Maria Farmer, one of Epstein's victims, saw the intricate camera system he had set up throughout his house, which proves that he wanted to document what his rich friends were doing so that he could potentially use it as blackmail. The 10th reason is that he was a liability to his rich and powerful friends. I'm not going to name any names, but let's just say that many benefited from his death. After all, now he couldn't reveal their secrets, he couldn't speak from the grave, and he couldn't blackmail them. After his death, the secrets that did come out, they did a whole lot of damage to the reputations and fortunes of many of the rich and powerful. I'm going to leave it today with what Cindy McCain, the wife of the late Senator John McCain, said about Epstein. She said, "We all knew about him. We all knew what he was doing, but we had no legal aspect that would go after him. They were afraid of him. For whatever reason, they were afraid of him." Please let me know what you think. Do you agree that there's just way too many convenient coincidences surrounding his death, or do you think that this is just a crazy conspiracy? Please like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the video and have a great day.